And now, everybody, Jeffrey Lawrence Matthews for our artificial intelligence panel. Ta-da! Go ahead.
And thank you, Kathy. And I'm going to pick up where I left off, which is talking about AI. And it does have certain advantages, but there are also some significant concerns. One of the primary risks lies in the commoditization of content. AI-powered tools can generate articles, summaries, or even entire manuscripts, potentially flooding the market with mass-produced formulaic works that lack the depth, creativity of human touch. And that flood can dilute the value of original literary endeavors, making it harder for genuine voices to stand out. Secondly, AI-driven algorithms wield immense power in shaping reading preferences. They can curate recommendations, influence what readers encounter, narrow their exposure to diverse points of views, and stifle creativity in the long run. And third, for authors, the rise of AI poses a very grave challenge to intellectual property rights and fair compensation. Automated tools can scrape, compile, and repurpose content without adequate acknowledgement or remuneration for the original creators. And this will undermine the livelihood of authors who pour their heart and soul into crafting stories, threatening their ability to sustain a career in writing. Now, everything I just said after Good Morning, Kathy was written by AI.
Oh my God.
I wanted to demonstrate the power of this tool.
Oh, I got chills.
And what I did was very simply, I wrote a prompt into ChatGPT, which any one of us can access. I write a 250-word speech about the key risks AI presents to the publishing industry in general and authors in particular. And it spit out that speech, and a lot more than I spoke, but that was the first half of the speech. And I think it got the key facts pretty right, oddly enough, for AI telling us about the risks of AI. Number one, a flood of content. Number two, algorithms shaping our reading preferences as if they aren't already shaped enough by Facebook and TikTok and Twitter. Number three, the risk to our own IP and our compensation, which we heard a lot about yesterday, and it's already happening. And here's the thing. It spit that speech out in 19 seconds.
That is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The whole thing. And I didn't change a word. Now, it's not a great speech. It's not the kind of speech I would have given. But boy, what a tool. Speech writers, press release writers, technical writers, software writers. My son-in-law is a software writer. And he uses AI all the time these days as he writes codes. It's incredibly powerful. And for him, it's incredibly helpful. And I want to give you another example of the positive power of this tool. Because yesterday we talked a lot about the risks and the dangers and how negative it can be. As you know, I'm working on a sequel to One Must Tell the Bees. As I mentioned yesterday, it involves Tibet, Sherlock Holmes in Tibet meeting the Dalai Lama in 1890. And I've done a lot of research about Tibet over the last few years. And one of the buildings that happens to figure quite heavily in the book is the Potala Palace, which is the 1,000-room palace in Tibet, in Lhasa, where the Dalai Lama used to live and work when the Dalai Lama was in Tibet. Now, unfortunately, the Chinese chased him out in the 50s. I think it was 1959. And he's now in exile in India. He's been there ever since. It's an interesting story, actually. The Chinese had invaded Tibet. They said, you know, we come in peace, everything's going to be fine. They were killing millions of people. They were destroying monasteries all over Tibet. They destroyed 10,000 monasteries. They surrounded Lhasa, the capital, and they sent emissaries in to say to the Dalai Lama, we want to meet with you. And it was kind of like The Godfather, you know, come meet with us on our territory where you'll be safe. And the Dalai Lama went to the state oracle. There is an oracle, a monk who is trained in this stuff, and he is consulted by the Dalai Lama on key issues. And the Dalai, and it's a very complicated process. He wears an immense helmet, this guy, very highly decorated helmet. It's so heavy he can't even stand up. He has to be propped up by other monks. He goes into a trance, and then he answers the questions. And the first two times the Dalai Lama consulted him about this, the oracle said, go ahead, go meet the Chinese, it'll be fine. The third time he went, he wanted to go one more time to talk to him about this. And the third time, the oracle all of a sudden started shouting, "Go now, tonight, leave." And he wrote out the oracle wrote out a very detailed pathway to go. This is how you have to do it. And the Dalai Lama did it. And he escaped in the middle of the night, disguised and undercover. He was 4 hours ahead of the Chinese troops that were sent to capture him. Anyway, so this is what I'm working on. And the Potala Palace plays a role in the book. It's 1,000 rooms. It's immense. It involves both the state operations and the religious operations, because Tibet was a Tibetan Buddhist country. And I was trying to get my mind around what's it like inside? Like, what's it like to walk around inside? And I wrote on ChatGPT, in 500 words or less, describe the interior of the Potala Palace in Lhasa, Tibet. And it started out describing it for me. The interior is a labyrinth of intricately decorated chambers, prayer halls, sacred spaces. The White Palace is dedicated to secular affairs. It houses numerous rooms adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from Tibetan folklore, history, religious tales. And then it goes on to talk about how you have to climb up these very narrow staircases to the Red Palace, which is the heart of the spiritual core of the Potala Palace. And there you'll find stupas, which are decorated funeral chambers where previous Dalai Lamas are buried. The point is, in 500 words, it gave me a very clear description, a very simple description, but very clear of what it's like to go inside the Potala Palace. And I'm not going to use it in my work, but it was very helpful in kind of framing what's the big picture, because it's very easy to get lost when you're describing something, action that takes place in something with 1,000 rooms and all different kinds of functions. Thousands of monks lived there. Thousands of administrators worked there. So it was a very useful tool for me as a writer. And so I think lesson number one is that AI is a powerful tool, and it could be a writer's friend if you know how to use it. And I know this is a different message than we heard yesterday, but we heard so many negatives that I thought, well, I'm going to start with some positives, because I just thought that would be more helpful. But let's not forget the negatives, and let's talk about it for a second, because they're very real. And one of them happened to me. My content got repurposed without my permission. This happened 1.5 years ago, before AI became a thing. I had written a piece for Writer's Digest. It was called "Go Ahead and Write That Book, but What's Your System?" And it was an encouragement for young writers about how to think about developing a writing system that helps them get their work done. And I based it on my own experience. I had been working on One Must Tell the Bees for 12 years while I was doing other things. I had a full-time job. The first 6 years, I kept saying, okay, this is the year I'm going to finish the book. A year would go by. My next birthday would come up. I'd say, no, okay, this is the year I'm going to finish the book. And the year would go by, and I'd have 10 more pages or something. And I read a book that literally changed my life. Now, I'm not a big fan of self-help books, and this wasn't exactly a self-help book, but it was a book by Scott Adams, who was a cartoonist who created Dilbert.
Yep.
Lately he's kind of gone over the deep end in politics, but he wrote a book about how he did it. And it's called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And his his point was, look, I'm not the funniest guy in the room. I'm not a great cartoonist, and I had no advantages in contacts or anything that would help me do this. But I did it. And here's how I did it. And he has a very simple way of looking at things. His main manifesto is goals are for losers. And he gives you the example of if you want to lose 10 pounds by summertime, so you can wear a bathing suit at the beach, and you say to yourself, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by summer. And you work out for a week and you eat a little less, but then eventually you're going to relapse and you're going to feel bad because you're not going to lose 10 pounds because you haven't changed your behavior. You just set a goal. And his thing is develop a system. What's your system? And he says, so on that analogy is if you want to lose 10 pounds by summer, develop a system. The system is I'm going to stop drinking alcohol because when I drink, I eat more, and I'm going to walk a mile a day. And that's my system. And if you do that every day, you'll probably lose the 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that totally resonated with me. And I sat down and examined my day, which was a full working day, and said, where could I adapt my day? How could I fit in an hour or two to write? And I did it. And so I had written this piece for Writer's Digest about it. And about a month after it was published, I never actually saw the Writer's Digest a website. I had just gotten the link from my publisher who said, yeah, or my PR people who said, yeah, it's done, it's up. And I was Googling. I thought, oh, well, let's see what it looks like on their website. And I Googled it. And in addition to the Writer's Digest article coming up, another article came up by somebody else called Systems versus Goals, How a Cartoonist Changed How I Do Everything. And it was written by somebody so-called Matt Karamazov. And it was about the sage advice he got from reading a book by the Dilbert cartoonist and how his method is to have a system rather than set goals.
Oh my
For
God.
example, if you want to lose 50 pounds, have a system. And it's my article, only it's been
Modified.
it's been kind of reshaped and reframed and a lot of words added to it. And it was a clickbait article totally taken from my content. And I was pissed. And I called my PR people and I used the F word a lot. And at the end of the day, there was nothing they could do because it was a fake clickbait article by a publication that had no, you couldn't go after them because they don't, they exist in Russia or something.
Wow.
And the article itself wasn't copied. It was paraphrased.
Mm.
So, and that was 2 years ago before AI became front page news. And I knew it was done by a computer. I knew it wasn't somebody didn't sit down and write all this stuff. And I just had this sense of, Jesus, there's something out there that's really taking over. So the lesson number 2 is the risks that AI, that ChatGPT told us about, they're real. They're totally flood of content, algorithms, risk to our IP. But how far does this go? Can AI replace human beings as authors of creative works? And I gave ChatGPT a fun task. I said about creativity. I wanted to see what it would do. Write a 150-word story in the style of Ernest Hemingway about an encounter between an orangutan and a bartender. And this is what it came up with. The orangutan ambled into the smoky tavern, a gentle giant amidst clinking glasses and murmured conversations. It settled at the bar, meeting the bartender's gaze with curious amber eyes. Silence draped the room as they regarded each other, two solitary souls in an unexpected counter. The bartender, weathered by time, poured a drink, sliding it across the worn counter. The orangutan accepted it with a nod, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not like Hemingway at all, right? I mean, that isn't that's not Hemingway. That Hemingway. I decided to try it myself. Hemingway, the way I think Hemingway would have written it, the orangutan sat at the bar at the far end where it was dark and smoky. He was drinking vermouth and talking to the bartender. It was dark and smoky, and we could not see him, but we could smell him. He smelled like the sweat from a bull in the unnameable place, and he was upset about something. We were not upset. We were smoking Ducados and drinking Rioja made from the Tempranillo scrapes. The Tempranillo scrapes ripen early and make the flavor of the Rioja warm and strong, like the good thing in bed. We were laughing at the orangutan, but he was angry. The muscles on his neck swelled like the Murillo on the bull before the bull charges the matador. So we tried to make him laugh, but he would not laugh. He attacked us. And they needed 5 ambulances to get us to the hospital. The hospital was bright and clean, like the taste of a good white wine. And the nurse injected us with Demerol for the pain. The Demerol gave us a good feeling, like the feeling when the trout hits the line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my God, you're amazing.
So I think the lesson there is, lesson number 3 is creativity is still a human talent.
Absolutely.
And then the question becomes, how do we as writers use AI? How do we get comfortable with it? And I always thought the smartest thing that Microsoft ever did when personal computers came out, I don't know if you remember this, but you go to a Best Buy or a CompUSA to look at a computer, and they always had solitaire on the screen, right? If you were playing around with a computer at a store, it always had a game of solitaire on it so that you could mess around with it. There was always one thing you could do with it. And I think it kind of demystified the computer and got you a little more comfortable with it. And I think what I try to do is to start playing around with it and have fun. Just mess around with it. And Kathy, can I share my screen with you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You just, there at the bottom, there's a share screen button.
Okay.
Do you see it?
I see it. And are you seeing anything
Yep.
or?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
But can you make it full page?
Okay. Yes, that's what I'm going to do as soon as I have found, I've got 800 windows open here.
Okay.
And what I want to do is find the window with ChatGPT. Well, what the heck? We'll just do it now.
Okay.
ChatGPT.
This is fascinating.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I got to tell you a story. My son-in-law typed in that he wanted an original song created on the Pulpwood Queens to music. And like a minute later, it came back and it was really good.
Really?
It was really good. It downloaded everything they could find on the Pulpwood Queens, but it scares me because they hit all the right buttons, and I thought they did it in how long? It's like a minute. And I said, that scares me. And
so I'm playing around with it here, and I just asked it, can you all see the screen well?
How can I help you today? Yeah.
Yeah, and at the bottom I write a 200-word biography of horror author Stephen King.
Okay. This is crazy.
Oh my God, it's terrifying.
It is. Yes.
Now that's pretty good, right? Like that's
how fast.
He was born in Portland, Maine. I've read his book on writing, which is one of the great books on writing
is great. Yeah.
And he talks about his early years. And it's all there. It's pretty darn good. Now let's have some fun with this, right? 200-word biography of J. Lawrence.
Oh, of you.
we're all going to do this before we get off here.
Oh, my
So,
friend just said, "Oh gosh, I can go back to school." I want to talk about that because it's a hot topic
Okay.
at UT Tyler.
Now, I'm asking it for a biography of J. Lawrence Matthews, right?
Hmm.
Let's see what it comes up.
Oh God, I got to read this.
There we go.
See, that's depressing.
Now, here's the weird
Oh
thing.
my
Here's
gosh.
the weird thing. This is actually totally different than what I got 2 days ago when I did this, or yesterday when I did this.
Really?
Here's what it wrote yesterday.
Okay.
And this is why I wanted to have some fun. J. Lawrence Matthews, a luminary in the literary world, emerged from the tapestry of small town life to weave narratives that resonate with the human soul. Born in the quiet hamlet of Woodridge, I was not born in Woodridge, his formative years were steeped in the rustic charm of rolling hills and murmuring brooks. Matthews, often found with a book in his hand, well, that's this one, cultivated a passion for storytelling that blossomed into prolific writing career. His first novel catapulted him into the literary spotlight. Dare to
Oh my
dream.
gosh.
Dare to dream.
What is that link to do this? So because I want to.
It's ChatGPT.
Is it something you join or is it free or?
It's
Yeah.
free. Yeah.
Good
My
grief.
son-in-law was showing to
ChatGPT. Just Google it and it will let you
and so
sign in and start
it's
asking
good
questions.
content though. But the problem that I see is like what happened to Barbara Davis, and Barbara's
Oh.
on. Yeah.
Kathy, it happened to me. It's happening everywhere, and there are huge risks. But one thing that Adriana said that resonated with me yesterday, and I think we should bear this in mind, and this is my conclusion on this. She said, you got to play the system to your advantage.
Wow.
And AI is now part of the system.
Yep.
And with all the downsides, we've got to learn to play it to our advantage. So I'm happy to have anybody else jump in and relate their stories. And
I have a question, and my question is, it's easy to see what the downsides are and come from a place of fear and, oh, they're going to steal all our readers and whatever. But what do you feel are the upsides for us as writers? What is it that we need to embrace? What's in it for us?
Well, I think, first of all, you can do a tremendous amount of research from your computer.
Okay.
I don't know if you were on, Barbara.
She just came on. She just came on.
At the top of what I did, I started actually with a speech about the risks of AI that ChatGPT wrote for me. I typed in what are the risks, and ChatGPT gave me all the downsides.
Oh.
And then what I also did was I wrote in a research question that I asked about a book I'm writing that was describe the interior of the Potala Palace in Lhasa, Tibet. And that's a setting in the book I'm working on. And it gave a 500-word description of the interior.
Holy moly.
That based on all the research I've done, I've not been in there myself, it's pretty accurate. And the way I'm using it, I'm not going to reprint it. Right. I'm not going to quote it.
Right.
But it's a helpful tool for me because the palace itself is immense. It's 1,000 rooms. A lot happens in there. And it was a way of kind of keeping me grounded in here's the basics of what you're going to see when you go inside. So I think it's a tool we can use to help us learn about things that we can't necessarily see ourselves.
Right.
But it takes us there.
Right. And you don't have to, you're not researching in 50 books to come up with that same amount of information.
No, now I have read dozens of books about Tibet and many accounts of going inside, things that happened in the Potala Palace and going and so it doesn't replace that, but it's a helpful tool,
right.
For understanding it.
Jeffrey, I want everybody that's here today to check this out. And then I would like to set up a time when we all get back together and go back and discuss it after we've all had the chance to experiment with it. Don't you think that's a good idea? We could
Yes.
set that up later on in the year, next month or something. But I just wanted to say that at the University of Texas, I'm an art history major, and plagiarism is a major problem. The university is embracing AI, where the head of the art history department is concerned, because in art history, you have to cite everything. You have to do everything. And we have now all our papers go through a UniCheck system, which is probably run by AI, but it's a UniCheck. And if you have 10% or less, your paper passes. But if you don't do everything strictly by the book of citing and everything and putting in quotes, even paraphrasing, do you know that now it's considered plagiarism? That if you write about something in a blog and then you put it in your book, if you don't put it in quotes and cite that you did that on a blog, I go, but it's yourself. But that's how intense, it is for me in the art history program. And so, and we're really talking about it on campus, but I think we all need to experiment with it. And I have, Barbara, you can quickly tell what happened to you, because I think everybody needs to know you need to be checking, Googling your name and your books, because go ahead, Barbara.
One Sunday I was putting together a marketing piece for a Blue Scribe Book Chat, which is a Facebook group that I'm part of. And I just, I check everybody's stuff every Sunday morning to see if anybody's got any book deals or whatever. So I thought, well, I'll better check my own. And I put my name in, and all these books come up. This is her top seller. And it's The Keeper of Happy Endings, which is my top seller, but it is not my book. It is something else entirely. And there is a link that takes you somewhere else. So I got with, and then I started looking, and every one of my books, they had done it with every one of my books. And I'm like, oh my God. So I get on, I call my publisher, I let them know. They had no idea it was happening. So then I start digging around on some of the gimmicky things that they had, how they had worded my book titles. They had changed one little word of the description. And I noticed there were 45 other best-selling authors. I mean, they were not shy about who they were stealing from. And it went on for weeks. As fast as Amazon would take those sites down, they would pop back up with one different word. They would change the cover, some weird AI generated cover. And it just kept going. And it was 2 weeks. So I have no idea how many book sales I may have lost, or who thinks I put that out instead of my work. So you do have to be vigilant and never assume that everything is fine online. Hunt, because piracy is out there. The AI people are out there. Everybody's looking to, piggyback off of what we're doing with the minimum amount of work, which is sort of, I know you guys spend as much time as I do on these books, and it's your life, it's your passion, it's your heart. And then someone pushes a button and they generate a whole thing, and
Yeah, well,
troubling.
I've had lots of brand issues the past 2 years, and I've had to get an attorney and send cease and desist, and it cost me a fortune. And it's the new theft. It's the new way of why write a book? Just steal it from best-selling authors. So
Hey, Kathy, Janet Oakley had a comment.
One really good organization is the Authors Guild. And 3 of my books were used to train AI, 3 of my nonfiction books. And I'm having a lot of the same problems Barbara's having. My books, people are pirating my books. I've been filing protests. I've been doing a lot. The Authors Guild has a legal department, and they represent members. And they're the ones right now who are suing on for people like me. Well, actually, they took my nonfiction books, and the present lawsuit only addresses fiction books. But when you talk to Jamie Ford later, quite a few of Jamie's were stolen. Mine were stolen. A lot of people, our books were used to train AI. They did not talk to us. They paid us nothing. They just took the books. My understanding is they took them off pirated websites and reused them to train their machines. It's the same issues that the screenwriters had when they went out on strike this last year. The problem is they knew ahead of time. We didn't know ahead of time. We weren't, if they had come to us and said, we want to use your books, then organizations like the Authors Guild, Mystery Writers of America, PEN America could have gotten together. We could have said no. We could have made them pay for the books. We could have done something to stop this. But now it's all after the fact. Now they've built these they've built these very powerful computers using our content, using our talents, using our very hard work. I've got books there that go over a 30-year span that they've used. So they've used a lot of my work product over a lot of my life, and I've had absolutely no say, no compensation, nothing. So these lawsuits are going on. But the other thing the Authors Guild will do for you is if you have a private matter, they'll do contract reviews. They do all kinds of things. The fee is really nominal. I think it's like $100 to $200 a year. It goes up bracketed by how much you make as an author. But I think we really need to band together and fight this, because we're being used by very powerful companies with a lot of money who really don't want to compensate us at all.
No, and we haven't even seen, I mean, this is just the tip
This
of the
is the
iceberg
tip,
right
yeah.
now. It is going to blow up.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to be caught in the middle. And sure, it's a good tool for research, and we should use how to work. I mean, I agree, Jeffrey, it's there and we might as well benefit from it. But we need to learn how, we need to band together to try to control this somehow, or it's not going to affect me that much. I might write a few more books at my age. But all of you who are younger, and especially the young writers coming up, this could be a major blockbuster as far as what happens in the future. This could change writing careers from going forward. It's a real concern.
I wanted to step in because like my concern is Wikipedia teaching for your, what is their source? Because the best source is to go to the museum, go to the experts that are out in the world. If it's Wikipedia that AI is on. The other thing is what's happening. Everyone wants to have an audiobook. I have an incredible narrator for my 3 novels in Norway. But the risk is that some companies are offering an AI voice. You know, authors really want to get an audiobook because that's the growing thing. But it's affecting people who that are actors. This is a way that they can make money outside of their career while they're waiting for a movie or a stage. And
it does the book no justice.
Yeah,
it does the book no justice when you don't have an actor acting it. It's just not.
There's no emotion. I listened to one. She was so excited because someone had done it and they had the English accent right and everything. I could not tell who the next person was talking. There was no emotion.
They have done it. They have taken my book and done it, done an AI generated audiobook of my book. And again, this is the stuff you find when you go hunting and it feels weird, like you're stalking yourself.
Yeah.
The stuff that you come up with, you're just like, oh my God, this is the whole thing. And a robot is reading it. And it's horrifying to hear, like I said, all your passion in there and a robot reading it. Oy, yeah.
Well, it's affected not just writers. I mean, that they took the entire library of Getty images and fed them into AI to have AI generated photographs. I mean, they're doing this with music. Like Kathy said, I have a friend whose nephew has a doctorate in electronic music, and his whole library was taken. So this is a real concern. And as far as I'm concerned, they stole our work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ridiculous.
Sure.
It's
I mean, right
that.
now there's George Carlin, who has been dead for quite some time,
Yes.
is now doing a brand new comedy special through AI, and it's no, I swear to God, they're doing it.
Well, his daughter's one of her authors. I'll have to reach out to Kelly.
Like, what's next?
He opposes it
It's very bizarre.
quite publicly.
Yeah, you guys, it's all a concern. And I just think, I don't think anybody can change a human story, but they're grammatically correct. All the punctuation is there. So when they come through, but if you get used to reading how they read, you can see right through it. But the average Joe, they have no clue. Like, how many people have their faces put on these historical paintings where they, everybody's doing it. The cowgirl is the real popular one right now. They make you look thin and young and you're a cowgirl on a horse. And I just think, oh my gosh, they've got your image and they can put that anywhere.
They also
They put you out there without your clothes on.
Yeah, they have your information too when you tag that. Mary Ann wanted to say something.
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet. Jeffrey, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Based on the two very brief, I mean, I'm seeing AI hit a home run for people, especially in the corporate world when they're working. But based on your two examples of your bio and how inconsistent they were, I wonder about your suggestion that we use it for research.
It's a tool. It can be abused like anything. And what I found helpful about the work in Tibet was that it matched what I had learned.
What you already studied.
I could tell that it was accurate.
You have to do a comparison because
you have to, it's not you can't just say, oh, this is the biography of William Howard Taft. Oh, okay, great. You can't run with it. But it's a helpful tool if you learn how to use it. That's
okay.
Yeah, it's
well,
not,
I mean, but you have to qualify your research. And by the way, I studied with the monks who live with the Dalai Lama and sat in on a teaching with the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala in northern India. And I'm so excited to read your book.
well, I need to speak with you very much.
Yay, we got some connection.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
We got to go on to our next author, but
yeah,
fantastic job.
Kathy, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew what's behind me here.
Oh,
is a painting done by a certain
Queen.
very important person.
you guys.
That's
You're gonna make me cry.
That is a Kathy L. Murphy special right there on my.
Yep.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was Jeffrey bought it from me. And I have to thank my authors. Thank you so much. I love that painting. Thank you. And to have you, but Marcy Henna's here. She has one of my paintings at her home. I mean, there's so many authors that have purchased paintings from me. You guys, this is what's getting me through graduate school, and it is hand to mouth. So if you want a commission painting like Antonita did here with her book cover, I will work with you. So thank you for the plug. You are so appreciated. Thank you. I want to hear more. We'll do this again. You guys, we will do this again with my new program. So thank you. We're going to cut it off. And then we've got
I wanted to show everybody your beautiful work. This was
that's another one. Oh, that's my portrait of
me.
You guys are going to make me cry.
As my obsession with trees, and so I've got a leaf crown. But anyway, her work is incredible. Get a portrait done by Kathy L. Murphy.
Thank you. Testimonies are always the best. I appreciate it so much. But next up, we have on the agenda Stephanie Chance, who's one of my dearest friends, and she houses my art in her gallery in her European Fine store in Gladewater, Texas. So we'll be back with Stephanie here shortly. it's 11:15 to 11:45, and then we're going to break for lunch. So let me get off so I can get back on. And thank you all for being here. And thank you, Jeffrey. I
Thank you.
adore you. I adore you. I can't wait to read your new book. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
We'll
Thank
be
you.
back.